Hey gang, good to see y'all again. For those of you showing up for the first time, I am the Articulate Grunt. Welcome to my channel. Now, a couple months ago, I did a comparative piece between California and Colorado gun ownership and home defense laws. I've linked it in the description in case you're interested. That way you don't have to go hunt it up. However, to give you the short and sweet on the Colorado incident, a young college lady was intoxicated, broke into a couple's home in the middle of the night. The couple called the police, warned her to leave, can be heard several times on the 911 call, warning her to leave. When she refused to and actually proceeded further into their bedroom, the husband shot her in the hip with a pistol. Police came out, picked her up, took her to the hospital, got her medical treatment, and she's now had her day in court. She has pled guilty to first-degree trespassing, and the judge has commuted her sentence to 18 months public service, and at the end of that time, if she's got no other criminal action she's participated in or been accused of, everything just goes away, except for the scar on her hip, of course. Now, along with this, I have to throw a bullshit flag, simply because her lawyer claimed that because she didn't remember anything of the incident, she must have been under the influence of a date rape drug and thus was not responsible for her actions. However, police and EMTs, having picked her up, taken her to the hospital, and gotten her treatment, after she was stabilized, bleeding was stopped, all that kind of stuff, 20 to 30 minutes after the incident, did a blood alcohol test on the young lady, and her blood alcohol level was 0.24, not 0.024, 0.24, 3 times the legal limit. I'm sorry, no date rape drug is needed there. That high of an alcohol content can cause things such as, blackouts, loss of memory. Honey, you were drunk. But, I want to bring you up to speed on that. Let's do a bit of a follow-up, and let's move on to the main piece I'm wanting to cover. I'm sure most of you have seen news articles on and heard about, some of the leather is murder, don't wear fur activists and such, who will see a usually older, relatively well-off lady walking down the sidewalk, run up to her with either a bucket of pig's blood or red paint, and throw it on her furs and leathers. Personally, I think such individuals are freaking cowards. Complete and absolute cowards. If they weren't, they'd prove their point by running up to a group of bikers and throwing said bucket or container of blood or red paint on a nearby Hell's Angel, thus expressing their point. And personally, I would love to see the video of that, as that would be a king-size stomp down that would just be wonderfully entertaining to see, and see them get their right comeuppance. But, as I said, I consider them cowards, because they never do that, they won't do that, they go after those who can't defend themselves. Well, in a similar thing, in my opinion, Amnesty International is back in the U.S. and is protesting the American prison system. You see, I've seen several prisons around the world. Fortunately not as an inmate from the outside, usually associated with other activities that have gone with previous occupations in my life. Transfer prisoners, other things, variety of stuff. Well, Amnesty International does not commonly, even though they're international, go off protesting and causing big stinks in foreign countries about their prisons, at least not that I've heard of and was able to find, because in a lot of countries you do that, you wind up in the prison. Well, they're raising a big stink in Northern California recently over the operations of Pelican Bay. In case you don't know, Pelican Bay is a super maximum security prison. It's one of the few places in the country where you send the nasty of the nasty, the worst guys out there, who will gut and slit the throat of the prison corrections facility personnel and anybody else they feel like. These are guys who will keep their contacts with guys on the outside, organize and run hits, assassinations, criminal operations, while still in prison. Get sent to Pelican Bay, get found to be doing such things, you go into solitary confinement for as long as it takes for you not to be able to be a threat, for you to be back with the general populace. And sometimes that's years. Amnesty International is raising a stink. Personally, I find our prison system rather pathetic. Our prison system, compared to some hotels overseas, are 4-star accommodations. Taxpayers pay for all sorts of reform and re-education programs, libraries, schooling, pool tables, athletic teams. Some of these athletic teams even train up and travel to other prisons across the country to compete against other prison teams. There's bands, all sorts of amenities, so that the prisoner life isn't too hard. While you're serving your 40 years for bludgeoning someone's grandmother to death with her garden shovel that you picked up on the way into her house because you forgot your lead pipe, we don't want you to get, too far down on yourself and for it to be too miserable a time in prison. Now, because of all these amenities, the mandatory, good cuisine diet that has to be rotated and kept, variable, so you don't get bored with that either, the average inmate upkeep per U.S. prison population member is $47,000 a year. Now, to put that in perspective, the average salary for a first-year teacher in the U.S. is $34,000. Yeah. So, I was thinking about it, I was reading, digging into different stuff, and I had a thought, an idea for an alternate funding system to help offset some of the costs of the U.S. penal system from the taxpayers. Now, it's a multi-layer plan. Stick with me. First off, I was doing some digging and found that pay-per-view professional boxing matches will commonly generate, after paying the fighters, which is anywhere from $2 to $12 million apiece, after paying expenses, will still create a profit of $2 to $5 million per pay-per-view boxing event. Let's go with prisoner volunteers. Except, instead of boxing, which would get kind of boring, they're not professional fighters, it would be kind of like a grudge match or a bare knuckles fight. Since so many people commonly refer and reference, declining U.S. economy, the way society is going, not just in the U.S. but also in Western Europe, European nations, first world nations, to the weakening, decline, and eventual fall of Rome, you got it. Let's bring back gladiatorial matches. All volunteers. You got some big, nasty mama jama who loves stick shivs in people? Knife them. You got others who want a piece of him? Let them volunteer. If they both volunteer, they agree to the match. You give them a small budget or a quantity of supplies to either make or purchase, set up and arrange their gear, make sure it's relatively level and balanced, put them in a secure pay-per-view surrounding, and televise it. A pay-per-view grudge match, death match between inmates. You've got a couple of gangs in the prison, sharing prison space. Their homies and bros on the outside are fighting again, fighting over turf, killing each other, more of them coming in. They want a chance to get in on it. They want a piece of each other. No problem. Team matches. Yes, team matches. Never get boring. Never going to be the same fight. Oh, look, they beat each other down again. No. Guys are dying. Age restriction, pay-per-view, and what about if one guy surrenders? He gives up. He's had enough. He knows he's beat. Viewer call-in voting. 50 cents, $1, $5 per call. And instead of having an emperor or Caesar sitting up there doing the old thumbs up, thumbs down, the audience calls it in. You pay per call, but the audience calls it in and makes the decision. Did he have a good fight? Did he do well? Was he entertaining enough to be spared? Or just finishing? Now, am I being serious? Am I making a joke? Some of you out there know me. You think about it, you decide. Let me know what you think. If what you think is, I'm freaking nuts, that's a valid comment. Feel free to make it. Now, before you go all off on it though, think about it. Not paying the fighters. That's an extra $4 to $16 million generated per pay-per-view event. 3 to 4 fights per event. The profit? $2 to $5 million. Still got to pay the expenses, so we can't figure that. Plus, every inmate who volunteers and comes out in a body bag, $47,000 off the taxpayer ticket. Don't have to pay for it anymore. Just cremation or whatever type of funeral is needed, and done. So you got a team match, you got 4 grudge matches, you maybe lose a dozen inmates. It's $500,000. In addition, you just generated around $20 million to offset prison expenses. Let me know what you think. Take care. I am the Articulate Grunt. Keep your heads down, and I will catch you next time. Bye.